just as a sort of point of background, Michele has been doing recently at sort of around art fairs, there have been these barges where editors and artists and performers of all stripes have gathered for kind of impromptu conversations and be-ins. And one of the things that we were talking about at the barge that she made at the Venice Biennale in this past May was a desire that she had to get women together to talk about, you know, peace and politics and creating conversations.
Yeah, that's the way I think he's going to develop, because the only thing we can bring in the wars and everything is like dreaming to do it in Cyprus, and there is women from Israel and women from Palestine or from Syria, of course, that we can get together and just bring a smile to their face through music, through everything, because it's not with guns that we are going to change the guns.
But yeah, so one of the things that's really amazing about what you do is your sort of casting for this tribe that is sort of gathering around you, and your eye for people is unique. Maybe you can tell us about what goes into that, by how you sort of came to be aware of Gareth and what sort of made him leap out to you.
Yeah, Gareth, you were really a little chick then. And and I don't know how to say, it's like 10 years ago, but in fact, I did not pick up Gareth. He asked for it. Yeah. He said the nicest email, I told this story a few times, that Gareth wanted to be an intern, and Gareth showed up. I mean, the way it was so well written, that I wanted to talk with him on the phone. The voice was even more, you know, I like to be seduced, of course, always. That was the most seductive phone call. And he came in, and then we sort of, you know, the things were never really clear. They're just knowing that he was not an intern, he was a designer.
Can you tell us a little bit about, you know, it sounds like you were precocious from the get-go. Can you tell us a little about, you know, your background in designing for the theater at a young age, and how you came to start working with clothes?
I started kind of, I guess, my love affair with London when I was very young. When I was 14, I came to London to be part of the National Youth Theatre, and I did that. It's kind of like a summer school that they run for young people from the age of 14 to 21, and you can kind of do costume or set design or acting. And because I couldn't act, I decided to come and apply for the costume department, and I did that for 3 or 4 years. And that kind of, you know, coming from where I grew up, Sunderland, and coming to London and being exposed to all of that comes with London, was really something that made me realise that there was something else that I wanted to be part of. And I guess that's kind of the same thing as when I met Michele, because, you know, I got in touch and I wanted I just knew I wanted to do something, and I wasn't really able to do anything on my own. At the time that I got in touch, I was kind of a little bit lost, I guess, because, you know, when you leave a place like St Martin's and you're on your own, it's difficult to kind of get a little sense of what you want to do. So met Michele, and she kind of, I guess, introduced me to her world. And I don't know, I think it's like, I find Michele incredibly fascinating because she's so foreign. No, just, yeah. You know, I don't mean the accent, it's just like the whole way of approaching life is so different to what I'm used to, and I obviously was instilled with very sort of pragmatic values, and it's very sort of A to B to C to D, whereas meeting Michele, it's kind of this sort of very overview kind of approach of things, but also being done in a very pragmatic way. I mean, all of these like things of Michele, it's like the thing that I love the most is that she'll, you know, being involved in all of these things, but she'll be on like a truck with all of this furniture coming over on the Eurostar with the people who made it, and it's kind of, while it's all of this other stuff that's around her, it's always about the actual, how do we build this thing, and it's not just her standing and pointing of people how to do something, she's actually doing it herself.
Right.
And it's kind of, that's something that I really relate to, because I really like to make things, and I don't like to just feel separated from the work that you do. On the other side, I think Michele kind of is fascinated by the strangeness of me, because it's kind of, it's you know, I represent something very foreign to her as she does for me, and it's...
Well, but I mean, I see a sort of symmetry there in that your work seems to be very personal. I mean, it's a very sort of self-expressive, and, you know, you're very involved with it. It's shirt sleeves rolled up, you know, elbows deep in what you're doing, as is Michele. And I wonder if you can tell a little bit about, you know, you've said that your work is sort of autobiography. It's not referential necessarily of the outside world, but it's about your sort of life and what you put into it.
Well, you know, each season we try and do something that feels like it challenges us, and it's always something that comes after the fact, but it's always something that is a reaction to what we're going through. When I did my very first shows in London, there was a lot of Andrew Bolton's doing this exhibition at the Met about man versus machine, and the idea that a lot of my work has a very machine finished look to it, but it's all done by hand, and I think that want of control is spawned from the idea of not having control in the back or in the way you make things. You know, it's kind of all of these things coming from chaos. So, you know, it's kind of basically the work represents what I want, and maybe it's not necessarily what I have, which I think is kind of, I guess, the autobiographical nature of it. Yeah. In that it's kind of the, you know, for me, fashions or design or creating an image would be about a fantasy, and I guess for me that idea of absolute control as a Virgo is a fantasy that I guess maybe is something that I don't ever want or will ever be able to achieve, but it's always a thing that I aspire for.